All right, guys, today we're here, episode 55. Got a different style of guest than what we've had on recently. Actually, than what we've had on ever. A guy I've been following for a while now since I've got into my, dunk journey, my own personal dunk journey. Stephen Selly. Have I got that last name right, mate?
Yeah, that's perfect. Actually, it always gets messed up, but that was perfect. It's Selly, yep.
Okay, good. So we've got Stephen with us. It's just me today. Unfortunately, Stephen, my brother, my co-host Angus couldn't be here today, so apologies for that. But I think he's sort of into basketball and dunking, but not as into it as I am. So I think he may have just slowed down the conversation. Sorry, Angus. So Stephen, mate, welcome to the Hyperformance Podcast.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be here. This is actually my first time I'm a guest on another podcast, and I was super pumped when you guys hit me up because I actually saw your Instagram, and it's just all these cool guys, like UFC fighters that I've actually heard of before, and just all these cool Olympic athletes that I was like super pumped to be a part of it. So I'm just super excited to get talking with you. Talk about some dunking.
I'm very appreciative to have you on. Let's just get straight into it. The reason I sort of started, I just thought, I run track now. I was always a swimmer as a kid, which was always seen as, I guess, you were a swimmer. You weren't a good athlete. Like athleticism, I see, although I think swimmers are tremendous athletes, of course they are, but in terms of the public's eye, things that I think capture a good look of athleticism are things like running, jumping high, sometimes weightlifting, and I've always been drawn to dunking. So about 7 weeks ago, I decided I'm going to commit every Thursday to trying to do this. And then I was obviously deep in Instagram, deep in YouTube, came across a lot of YouTubers that have a similar sort of how-to dunk journey like yours. But you were just very captivating, very good on the mic, very good on the camera. Obviously, you've been doing it for a while, so credit to you. And I think, obviously, you're Caucasian, you're white, bit more relatable for someone like me. Obviously, there's that stereotypical white man can't jump, which I think and a few other dunkers have proven wrong.
Right. So that's kind of how I got started as well. It's funny that you mentioned that because when I first started trying to dunk as well was that I was on the basketball team in my high school, but it was all the taller kids, and my friends that were white were the only ones that could dunk that were white were the taller ones, and us shorter ones were trying to touch the rim and things like that. And it just happened to be that like towards the end of my high school, like senior year, I just decided to try to touch the rim. I always loved jumping, playing basketball, and I was always like somewhat athletic. So I tried to touch the rim, and then soon after that, I went to YouTube myself and actually saw my good friend Andy now. He became my good friend over the years, but I saw him on YouTube. He was my height, and he actually had videos that were from him touching the rim, kind of where I was at when I first watched these videos, and then he was dunking at the end of like a program or 12 weeks or so. So that was super inspiring to me. And then I started just recording my own dunks, and it first started out just to be really cool because I really wanted to push myself to see how far I can go, and also I thought it would be a great video to look back on to see like where I started. So I mainly started taking videos just because I wanted to be able to look back and see that I started from a place where I wasn't even close to dunking, and then when I was able to dunk, I'd be like, wow, I look back and I really came a long way. And then what happened was when I started vlogging a little bit more, it was just more something that I thought I could help the community with. And when I was looking for videos, I saw a lot of people showing their progress, but you would see people that they'd be jumping, and then you see the video like maybe a few weeks later and they're jumping higher, or a month later, and you're like, what happened in between? And there was like no resources there, and I just kind of wanted to be the person that would provide the videos that I wish I had when I started my journey, that the ins and outs of every day, the workouts, the ups and downs, and just everything that goes into it. So that's kind of what got me started on my little YouTube dunk journey.
Yeah, nice, mate. And it is very good because you do follow a lot of good steps along the way. Like I've been back through your vault of videos, seeing the injuries, the progression, the realization. And it's interesting. It's something we will talk about a bit later in the interview is the injury side of it, because it is a very intense, high impact, sport. Can we go back to the start and give everyone a rough idea? So I guess you're a senior in high school. That's, I think, year 12 over here. So you're 17, 18 when you started. How high were you jumping? Like, could you straight away jump, touch the rim?
Okay, so back in high school, I was on the team in 10th grade. I think I was like 16, 17, and I was like touching rim on like a very good day, but very sporadic, just random days. I never really thought it was possible. And that's where like YouTube changed my like life pretty much, just because I saw it was possible. But before that, so a couple years later, after like maybe the very first time I touched a rim, never even thought twice about it. I didn't even know if it was a legit rim or anything like that. It was towards the end of high school, started seeing YouTube videos, and I was just at like a PE class where it was outdoors. We just played basketball during in between classes. And I saw the rim, and I was like really close to touching it. I'm like, let me just try to touch it a few times. Ran, jumped off one leg, and missed a few, maybe like 3 or 4 times. And maybe like the 5th or so time I touched it, I'm like, wow, I could really touch it. And it was like a really standard hoop, outdoor hoop. I knew it was a little tougher to grab. And I just jumped and touched it a few more times. And then after that day, I said to myself, my very first goal was, let me see if I can hang on the rim. Because I didn't know anybody even my height or close to my height that could hang on the rim. And I just thought it would be cool, as it would be a really big achievement in itself, just to be able to hang on the same rim that these NBA players. At the time, I didn't know about dunking. I didn't know about other dunkers. I just thought it'd be cool to be able to say I could hang on a real legit rim. Being like a basketball player, I wanted to like have that kind of edge where I was like had some jumping ability that I could jump and hang on a rim. So my next step was I would go to the gym a couple times a week and just jump over and over and over again and try to hang on the rim. And I would get like my fingertips on it and like snap it. And I was going off 2 feet at this time, because hanging, I just saw people hang with 2 hands because it's a little bit, 2 feet, just because it's a little more stable. You're jumping more up and down. You're not going forward as much. And I'd miss it a million times, and I'd have to like accept defeat that day, and then come back maybe a couple days later, sore legs, and try again. And then I just did that for a few weeks, and then hung for my first time with my very fingertips, like barely hung. I have a video of it somewhere, but it's so far in the vault, like you're saying, it's not on my YouTube. I got to actually find that. That'd be a great video. But got that. And then from then on, I still couldn't get it every day or every jump. I couldn't even hang on the rim every jump or every day. So then I was just like, let me just try to keep doing it. And I got a little bit more consistent. And then that's when I probably had my first injury. I think I broke my ankle. And but I was still motivated, because I went from just touching the rim, not even really even grabbing it, to grabbing it and hanging. Even though it's just one hand, I'm like, wow, just from jumping and focusing on this, I made some gains that I didn't even think were possible. I didn't know if you could just jump higher. At that time, before YouTube and all these things, it was really a mythical type of achievement to be able to jump and grab the rim or have high jumping abilities. You never really saw too many people that kind of progress. You just saw these freak jumpers, and there wasn't that documentation of their progress. So that's where my YouTube channel came from. But also at that time, it was just like, wow, I think I can make some progress here. I'm going to see if I can keep making this progress and see how much I can make, and see if I can eventually dunk.
Definitely. For me, something that in my short dunk journey I find has been a big impact is just the running. Like on the very first day, my legs were semi-fresh. I think I'd run a lactic session because I ran track the day before. And I can standing jump I can get my sort of wrist to the ring. But then that first week, I couldn't run and grab the ring. And then as the weeks went on, sort of now I can run and jump and dunk a tennis ball. But it's just that timing. And then I think after that first day, I found your videos and saw how you were sort of running in, loading up the legs, then springing up. Whereas I was literally just all over the place. How big of a part does timing have in it?
So you bring up a really great point. Lucky for me, that day or when I started, I think it's just because of my background of playing sports and things like that. I think I sort of had a natural jumping technique off 2 feet. And that's why I try to stress that a lot, because a lot of times I see kids that are starting their dunk journeys and they don't have the best technique, and they can definitely maximize that. And I definitely think that's the foundation where you should start. But yes, I definitely think that by timing, do you mean like timing of your jump, or do you mean like how you translate your speed into the jump?
Both.
Okay. So there's a huge part in jumping. Movement is very specific, and I see a lot of people that are able to jump maybe off one step or just from a standstill have a pretty good vertical, but then when they try to run and translate that speed, they're not getting any higher. And there's a lot to that, and there's a lot of technique that goes into that penultimate step when you try to use your approach, take those 2-3 steps, and then take that big penultimate step and then get in your plant super quick. I learned that over the years. I was doing it sort of naturally, but then when I was trying to go higher and I would get stronger, things like that, I would feel my legs felt different when I would do different plants and things like that. And I learned a lot about the different techniques. And timing is very big, especially when you're doing your plants and your takeoff. You really want those last 2 steps to be super quick. You want to like load up. I'm not sure if people know what the penultimate step is, but when you're running, before you get into that last 2 steps where you plant and take off, you take a big long step that you see a lot of dunkers do. And that's like that penultimate step. It kind of, I like to think of it as a translation from your actual running to the jump. So it's kind of, if you think of it almost like a, how can I say it through words? I can picture it, but it's almost like the angle. It's kind of, you're taking it, you take the penultimate step, and then it springs you upwards. So it's hard to, if you look at any dunker, you'll see that big step if you slow it down. I know a lot of my videos, you can see a good angle of it from the side of that big step. But another thing about timing is that you want to jump a certain distance and plant quickly. And if you jump a little too close, sometimes people are jumping past the rim and they're trying to reach for the rim, but they kind of miss their peak. So if you kind of don't time your jump right or placement of your jump, you may not get the most efficient jump out of your movements, and then you won't be able to reach your peak at the right time to touch the rim or dunk at the right time.
Yeah, something I learned pretty quickly, I forget if it was off your YouTube or someone else's, is that when I was running in and taking that penultimate step, like you're saying, I was then trying to load up and then spring up. But the cue I got given, or told, was to just get off the ground as quick as you can after you did those last 2 steps, which helped me so much last week. I only saw that video sort of the week before my last session, and it was huge. And then also I think another cue is just trying to whip the hands and get the most out of the hands, because I can relate that to track, just coming out of the blocks and trying to whip your hands quickly. It just makes for such a quick reaction, and you really can get that triple extension a lot quicker.
Definitely. And one thing that how I learned about that, well, first of all, you want that big penultimate and then those last 2 steps super quick, because a lot of times you see somebody plant their right left foot. I don't know if they, like, whichever plant you are, but you plant your first foot first, and then the second one should be almost simultaneous. It's like that quick, and you want to stay upright and like saying swing your arms. But I see a lot of people that plant that first foot, then their second foot comes around very slowly, and then they're not getting that spring motion. I feel like they're losing that speed that they tried to translate into their jump. And one way I notice this a lot, which is a great indicator, is when I do a backboard dunk. I've noticed that helps me get my perfect jump almost every single time, because what happens is I throw the ball off the backboard, and since it's coming up and fast back at me, I don't have time to really load up. So I throw the ball off the backboard, and then as soon as I go to get the ball, I literally have to plant and jump up as fast as I can, just because it's coming off the board and it's high in the air. So I literally have to stay upright, and it almost forces me into the perfect form. So a lot of times, even if you're not dunking it, I would say just even try to use a ball and throw it off the backboard and just get it before it passes you, because it forces you to jump quick, stay upright, and get like the right amount of load and come off the ground as quick as you can. It's like, it's a good way to kind of force you into the right form of jumping. It's really helped me a lot.
It's interesting that you say that, because like on pure athleticism and timing for the jump, I honestly believe I can get the height I need to be able to dunk. Not now, but one day. But then a whole nother ball game, no pun intended, is just the timing with the ball, because I'm 6'1", so my hands aren't huge. Like I can't palm a ball. I can palm a women's-sized ball quite comfortably. So obviously I'll have to sort of bounce it, which I see you do in your videos a lot, lob it, or like you just said, throw it off the backboard. So it's a good cue, I guess, to have to maybe practice that backboard one first before I progress to the other ones.
Yeah, so the backboard one, it is good. The only reason why I'm hesitant is because sometimes it makes you extend a little bit your arm. It's definitely good once you can do it, just because it helps your jump. Like for now, for me, since I can do it, when I'm having like a warm up, like when I'm warming up or I'm having like a little bit of an off day and I want to like get back on track, I kind of do it because it forces me to jump without thinking and kind of just react, and it gets me to go a little bit to the next level. Because sometimes during my sessions, what happens is I have like a few weird jumps where I maybe like plant too hard or not warm enough yet or something like that. And I start to get in my head a little bit, like I'm jumping weird and I'm hesitating. So I throw that off the backboard and then I kind of just react and don't think and get back into that groove of jumping. But speaking of the lobs are really great because what you mentioned before too is that arm swing. And that's where I kind of perfected my dunking. And that's why my off the dribble has lacked in as much progress as my off the lob. And I actually have a little lob tutorial on my YouTube, which I think is really helpful, but I can break down kind of what I talk about on that tutorial. But with the lob, a lot of times I prefer a higher toss than a lower one, even if you can't reach it, because if it's too high out of your reach, at least you're jumping up and you're reaching and you're forcing yourself to get a max jump, which I think is very important in trying to make that progress jumping higher. And on the contrary to that, if the ball is too low and you try to get a full jump, you may be like reaching down for it, kind of like not using your full arm swing and not like jumping your very highest. So I always say try to throw it higher than you think you can get, and you may be surprised if you just go get it. And even if you can't get it, it's a great way to force yourself to get those max jumps. And max jumping is a great way to, just like anything, I feel like if you want to jump higher, you can do all the supplemental exercises and things like that, which we can get into another time too. But you need to be jumping a lot and always pushing to reach a little bit higher. And those lobs, there's a lot of timing involved in those. And that's where I also got really good because I practiced them over and over again. That I got the placement, the timing, and the jump. Like with my arm swing, I got my arm swing really good with that. And you just want the ball kind of like, I don't know if you've seen people kind of like throw it to their friend. Like if you were trying to get your first dunk, some people throw right by the front of the rim. You kind of want to try to get that just for yourself. So the way I see it too, another thing that I see a lot is a lot of times people throw a lob, and since it has to bounce and get above the rim, that takes time. And a lot of times people jump the gun. So they'll throw the ball and immediately start running to go run and take off and go get the ball, but the ball hasn't even bounced yet, or bounced and they're jumping as the ball's still going up. But the optimal thing to do would be to throw it, and I always say like kind of like check your watch just to give you like something to think about real quick, but you throw it, pause for like a solid full second, and then start your approach. The ball should bounce, and you want to get it like right to the front of the rim. You almost want it, if you're trying to get your first dunk, you almost want it where if you were to bounce it and not even go for it, it almost bounces and lands in the rim. And I think the very perfect would be like right on the front of the rim. So you want it just above the rim, and you want it just in front of the rim. So all you have to do is jump up, meet it at its peak, and just put it down. And that's exactly how I got my first dunk. And I think the timing with that is the main thing I see most is the weighting and making sure you time it right, because a lot of times, or you get the toss right first. So even if you can't jump yet, just get that toss right. Even if you're nowhere close to even dunking, I would say every time you go out for a jumping session, just try to get that toss so it's bouncing like right at rim level, just above rim level, and it's close to the rim, proximity to it. And then just practice timing. And that's where low rims are great too. If you can't dunk on a full size rim, it's great to get that timing down on a lower rim, like a 9.6 rim that's only like a half a foot short would really help your timing.
Nice. Well, that's something I can definitely do, sort of that lob, because I'm a hopeless shooter, so I always like lob it too high, fall short.
Yeah.
So something we talk about and advocate for our listeners on this show is Angus and I are both personal trainers, and we understand that not everyone enjoys the gym or the generic way to get fit, I guess. So we try and push guys, like when we get swimmers on, we talk about how the general public can enjoy a sport like swimming. And for you, I think, to, I guess, give across your message, and anyone can have a go at dunking, even on these lower rims, because it sort of takes your mind off getting fit. So let's say you're an average guy, you're carrying a bit of weight, you obviously want to be as lean as possible. You need to spend time on the court, outdoors, moving around. And then if you want to dunk, even on a 9-foot rim, which I think for the average fit male who gets in shape is achievable, it gives you a goal. So, okay, not to lose weight. You're not eating to lose weight. You're eating to be able to dunk. So, which the byproduct will be losing weight. Then you start researching. You learn that you need to like get the basics: squat, bench, deadlift. Then you can move into more advanced movements like plyos. So, you just generally is going to help your health and well-being, but at the same time, your main focus is to be able to dunk. Can you explain, sort of outside of actually spending time on the court, you have to work on to assist and aid in being a better dunker?
Yeah, so what I really have liked about dunking too is that we talked about injuries and my body, and jumping is such an intensive activity on your joints and things like that. I've learned a lot of how to take care of my body, and my body's never been in better shape than it is now. I know that one time, one of my injuries was a groin injury, and it kept me from exploding at a full potential and sprinting. Not that I would always do sprints, but when I would play pickup basketball and things like that, I would do explosive movements, like try to blow by somebody, dunk on somebody. No, I'm not that good at that yet. But I didn't realize that I was not really doing high intensity. I was kind of doing more cardio, like low intensity. And my point of that is that I was sweating a ton, so I thought I was getting enough of a workout by playing pickup, but I was still lifting heavy at the time, and I gained a lot of weight. And even though I was like still in shape, I was playing a lot of pickup games, I wasn't doing that high intensity. And by not doing that high intensity, I actually got more fat on my body, and I didn't stay as lean. And that's where I learned that the jumping is such a high intensity thing that you really need to be lean to be able to do it. And the high intensity also keeps you lean. So the leaner you are, the better you can jump and perform and do these explosive movements, because you have nothing as much slowing you down. And a great way to get that lean is to do these explosive movements. So I really like the lean physique. I was brought up by a dad who was into more of the bodybuilding, just get big and get as strong as possible. And that's kind of where my flaws came from, because that's kind of where I was before I started this dunk journey. I was kind of just getting strong and big, and then getting more into dunking taught me a lot more about my body, and that I was very inefficient with my movements. I wasn't flexible. And because I wasn't flexible, when I would do these high intensity things or anything besides the gym, like I feel like I'd be out for a lot longer. So my muscles were super tight. So whenever I would use them, they felt like they would take longer to recover. And now I can stretch, and I feel like I can help do some maintenance on my body just because I'm leaner, and my muscles are healthier and more flexible and things like that. I think I got away from your question.
No, not really.
I hit on it a little bit.
All obviously stuff. Again, we have a lot of listeners who enjoy a vast array of sports. So for them to hear that, they might not have thought that you have to work on flexibility so much. And I like the point you also made about being leaner now than when you were doing the bodybuilding stuff, and the explosive movements also, and training to be explosive in terms of building muscle and making you leaner. I found that a lot in my own training. So I came from a swimming background and Ironman surf life saving. So I was essentially doing endurance ski board, all that stuff. I was training about 13 sessions a week, trying to make the professional series. And then when I stopped that and started sprinting, so I was only sprinting 3 days a week, lifting 2, my body shape changed so much. Like I got leaner, I got heavier, and it was just all around a lot more healthy. Like you said, you become a lot more aware of your body, trying to delay injury and that sort of thing. So yeah, explosive training, albeit you've got to be a bit careful and learn more about your body. I think the benefits in terms of the aesthetics are a lot better than just sort of slugging away on a generic gym program or like training for a marathon, that sort of thing.
Yes. So just to hit more on that, which I found really interesting. You know of Jordan Kilgannon, the Canadian dunker?
Mate,
of course.
crazy.
Okay.
I used the first guy. When I read he was 6'1", I was like... Actually, guys, right now, if you haven't seen Jordan Kilgannon or Steven's channel, check them out right now. Pause the interview just so you have an idea of what we're sort of dealing with and who we're talking about and who I'm talking to right now. What's your YouTube? Oh, Instagram's a quick one.
Steven Dunks. Just to say one word, Steven Dunks.
So check that out now, just so you know, and you can sort of... I like when I hear someone I don't know on a podcast or an interview, I like to sort of Google them, Instagram, just so I have the same way, Yeah. So guys, check that out and rejoin us.
This when I learned this about Jordan, this made me. We got to talk a lot over these past couple of years. We got to become good friends. It's been really awesome, and just to see how focused he is was very insightful for me. And one thing that I learned is that because during this dunk journey, I wanted to become like the best athlete I can be all around. And one thing about jumping is that it's hard to have a lot of jump endurance, because I noticed when I was trying to get, like, for example, I think I was trying to hit a windmill one time, right? And there was pickup games going on. This is a long story. I'm trying to figure out if I should tell the whole thing, but I'm going to go into it. So there was I was trying to get a windmill, and I noticed they were playing pickup games, and I was kind of dunking in between their games. So like when they were on the other side of the court, I'd throw a quick one. But I noticed that there was times where I thought they might be coming, so I would want to save my jump. And the point of the story is that I was kind of jumping a lot less than I should have been, because I would kind of say, like, okay, I only have about 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 good jumps today, and I want to land that windmill. And as soon as I didn't feel like I was jumping my highest, I would kind of stop jumping for that day. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to hit that windmill. I'm not going to hit that new trick. So over time, though, I realized by limiting my jumps or like not jumping a lot, I wasn't building any jump endurance. And now it's gradual, but by jumping more each session, you can try to keep your peak at a higher level. So now on a full session, I could warm up, and once I'm at my peak is a little longer than it was. It's definitely longer than it was when I started, because before it was like warm up, have a few peak jumps, and then now I'm already on the decline before I even like have like more than 5 jumps. I'm already declining. So you have to build your jump endurance. And so when I learned that, I didn't really know the difference of high intensity endurance, like jumping, compared to like cardio endurance. So my whole thing was just get the most endurance you can. Your whole body's good. The more conditioning, the better. And I was thinking play pickup games, because I know some days when I would play pickup, I'd be winded. But if I played pickup multiple times a week, I'd feel in better shape. I can be explosive during the game for longer. But speaking with Jordan, he would say that any cardio may affect your jumping, which makes sense now, because any type of cardio that's not high intensity cardio, when you're playing pickup, there's a lot of like low intensity in there, like jogging and things like that. And any type of cardio that's like that is going to try to move some of your muscle fibers more to the slow twitch. And if all you want to do is jump high, you want as much fast twitch muscle fiber as you can get. So for example, if he were to play a pickup game, he may get winded quick. And I see myself getting winded quick. Like if I'm very good at short bursts, so I could do like a bunch of sprints. But if you ask me to run a mile, I will struggle. And that's just part of jumping too. Like, so if you want, it's very hard to do both. It's hard to do like long distance and short, high intensity things. And I just thought that was so interesting that there's different types of endurance, and that he literally doesn't even play pickup because that little bit of cardio, even if it's a lot of short bursts, that little bit of cardio, he doesn't want to even affect his jumping at all. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It's interesting you say that, because by the sounds, just this conversation that we've had in the half hour that we've been talking, it sounds like dunk training at your high level is very similar to sprint training. So everything when my coach enforces this is at 90 to 100%. Like, we're never doing sort of anything below that 90% range. Otherwise, you're just not training to be fast. And as a sprinter, as a dunker, you want to mimic that as much as you can. Now, let's move on to the gym side of things. Obviously, it's very important. You touched on flexibility before for injury prevention, and a lot of gym work, I assume, would be. Do you come from a personal training background or anything like that, or have you sort of developed your own gym program just off trial and error?
Yeah, so I started off just my whole gym career ever since I hit the gym was just high school. And that was just because I never did anything. All I did was sports, and I was getting older, and it was basically just to take care of my body. But at that point, it wasn't really take care of my body. It was more just my whole thought process was just get strong. I never really thought too far into it. I was just brought up that way. My friends were just getting strong. It was all about the bench press, getting as much as you can, getting those multiple plates on there, getting your squat up, things like that. And I had I think my genes just from my parents, I just had somewhat strong legs. So I would squat, and I would be able to squat heavy, and I had pretty sizable legs, but I never really stretched them. And that was very bad, because I learned later on that I had my upper body and my lower body were almost opposites in flexibility. They were. I learned that whatever it is on your upper body. The next day you go to school, you do things, you're bending, you're moving your upper body. And so that's keeping that soreness moving and keeping your body flexible. And it's even making you more flexible than you were if you weren't working out. So my upper body's very flexible, but my legs were the opposite, because I would get my legs super sore, blow them up so like I could barely walk, and then the next day I wouldn't feel like running or anything, so all I would do would be like walking, maybe run, but like I wasn't doing specific stretches that you need to do. And so they got, instead of getting more flexible from working out, they got more inflexible, and they got tighter and tighter and tighter, and that was very detrimental to me now, and now I'm still fighting that. But now the gym has completely changed for me. It's all about jump training, staying explosive, and I go through phases. So I always tell people when they're first starting, it's a lot of jumping and a lot of plyometrics and a lot of technique. And then when you because you can make a lot of gains through that. A lot of people never really jump that much. The plyometrics help with explosiveness. You could feel a lot different from your quickness and your explosiveness. And then once you kind of master the plyometrics, get a lot done, do a lot of body weight stuff or lightweight explosiveness, I always say start with the jumping, the plyos, and the light stuff. And then when you try to hit that next level, there is strength training that you have to go through a phase of strength training, which I tried to avoid for a long time just because I had so much success without strength training, just because I think I had a strong body and strong lower body. And I just kind of wanted to prove that you didn't need that. But I was kind of fighting against myself for that. And I think I hit a level where it was kind of the most potential I could literally output from my body without having to get stronger. And then I finally gave in and got stronger, and I felt a real difference. It was very strange because after all this jump training, jumping a ton, all the different exercises for jumping, I was missing the strength. And this guy, actually, another great source, his name's Daniel Back. He's got a website called Jump Science. It's really great. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't heard.
But it's really great. So I've learned a lot from him. And one thing he's explained that really made sense in my head is you have a sort of performance window. So the way you look at it is you have a window, right? Say your top of your window is you can jump 40 inches and the bottom's maybe like 35 inches. And you will stay in that window depending on what you're doing. So say you had you played a lot of pickup, the next day you might be at the bottom of the window, or say you did 2 days of like light stretching and just optimizing your body, getting loose and staying warm, doing like light jumps, light workouts, things like that, just trying to get explosive and you take a rest day or something like that. When you go to the gym, you might be at the top of that window and hit that 40-inch mark. But the way you increase that window is only through strength training. So you may be able to do things to perform at the top of your window and move that window up slightly by doing all these things because you never did them before. But once you move that window up from a little bit, the only way to really legitimately move that window up and move the top of your window higher than it's ever been is through that strength training. And as soon as he explained that concept, that made a lot of sense to me. And then after my strength training phase, I learned a lot because I felt a little slower initially because I did it a little wrong. But now the correct way to do it is go through a strength training phase where you do like squats and deadlifts and you're doing kind of like slow movements, just literally trying to increase those numbers. And then after you literally make personal records, you make gains, you're going to want to do like light lifting, like the same type of lifts that you did that you got stronger, but now you want to do the same movements with less weight and just do them explosively because I feel like it kind of tells your body you want to move this weight fast. And what I did was I didn't really know that intermediate step of using the light lifts. And I did the strength training, hit my PRs, and I'm like, I'm going to fly through the roof now because I feel stronger. I'm putting up weight I've never put up before. I squatted I think on my best day was like 315. I think I did it like 3 times, like free weight, no box squats. And the only time I've ever done that before was like once. I put it up once, I think. But I did like one day I just was feeling it. It was like top of my window for like gym time, not jumping. But I just had a great day. I'm like, wow, I'm definitely stronger. I definitely can jump higher. And then when I went to the gym, I was jumping higher, but I couldn't it didn't feel like my muscles knew how to jump. It was like I was jumping, but every time I tried to jump 100%, my form would break down and I would jump sideways weird, or I would jump and like something would give out. It was very strange. So then I realized I was missing the translation phase of a term that I made up, translation phase of just making the light lifts that kind of translate that strength into the explosive movements. Because I thought if you just get stronger, you could go right into the jumping, and that jumping will kind of tell those muscles to be used explosively. But the light lifting was really the key there after the strength phase.
Okay, that's very interesting. And it's interesting, I like your point of view and how you sort of convey this message, because we have a lot of strength and conditioning coaches on our podcast, and obviously it's their job. They'll always use very technical terms, and our audience would be a mix of general fans and then the guys who have careers as personal trainers and strength and conditioning coaches. Right. And it's good to hear your message, because it's a lot easier to understand if you don't know those technical terms when people start talking about muscle fibers, central nervous system, all the specifics of that sort of stuff. So it's good. This is why we enjoy getting a mixture of guys, because for someone like yourself, everyone can make sense of what you're saying from the top tier guys, and they're sort of going through and they're going, okay, I can relate this to this sort of strength phase, this sort of energy system, all that sort of stuff. So something we ask all the athletes that we have on, we talk about their PRs, personal best. So for you, Stephen, can we go over and get your max vertical, your max squat, max power clean, maybe max broad jump if you've ever tested that?
So I'm actually pretty bad at all these things, not in terms of numbers, but I don't really have them measured. But I can give you what I got. My squat, I know when I hit my strength phase, which I think has gone down now because I've been jumping a lot more. But in my peak strength phase, I think I hit 315 3 times. And that's like a full squat. I don't know if it was ass to grass, but it was like below parallel at least. I'm pretty sure. I got to rewatch the video. But that was the strongest day I had. And then deadlifts, I didn't do any power cleans actually, but I think next strength phase I'm definitely going to do those. I'm just such a beginner at those that I didn't even incorporate them in my strength phase. But and deadlifts, I didn't do those as well. I did them sometimes. I actually started now a little bit more. But what I did do is the hip thrusts. And the reason I did hip thrusts, those are the ones where you put your feet on the ground, you have the bar across your waist, and you kind of like push your pelvis up. I did those because my hamstrings are super inflexible, and for me to do deadlifts, it was very difficult for me. And that's actually something I'm working on in the gym right now a lot, is you use those kind of Romanian deadlifts. I don't put a lot of weight, but I kind of just get in the position and just lean forwards and just kind of let the weight pull me down. And it's almost more of a stretch than a workout. But I really feel it pulling on my hamstrings, which are very tight on me. But I'm working on that. But so those hip thrusts, those were where I made a PR as well. I don't really know how much weight it was, if I do the math real quick. But I think it was on a Smith machine. And I had 4 45 plates on each side. So that's 90, 180. And then, I don't know, it's almost like 400 pounds, I think, 360, 180.
Yeah, I think it's about 220 kilos.
Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot to do the conversions. You got me on that.
Oh, good.
Okay, great. So I did that on the Smith machine, and we're stuck in this friggin' old ways of doing the conversions with these weights. I hate it. I like kilos a lot better, but I got to get into that. But so the Smith machine, I don't know, it's not exactly like a free weight, but I do know it was my PR. And that's where I kind of feel poorly about the way I tell people to work out, because I don't know numbers that well. I just know that when I'm doing strength, I'm just trying to get stronger than I was. And I think I tracked myself, what I did. I made sure, I didn't even write the number. I just know that I did when I started the strength phase, I was on 2.5 to 3 plates. And then during the week, I was 3 plates to 3.5, and then I think my final was 4 plates, if not 4.5 or something like that.
Sorry, I just want to correct myself. 4 plates aside is 180 kilos, so 4.5 is 200. My bad. I'm a personal trainer, so I can't get those numbers wrong. That's my bread and butter.
I was he converted that quick. I didn't even notice. But yeah, so those were my 2 main exercises. I did squats and I did the hip thrust. I really liked the hip thrust because I felt like I could load up a ton of weight. I didn't have to worry about my back getting hurt because I wasn't bending over and worrying about my form. And I could just load up and push as much as I can. I did squats, the hip thrusts, and I just did a lot of core. But I know power cleans are great. I really should do a lot more power cleans, but I do.
Nice, mate. And the vertical as well. Can you touch on that?
Yeah. Oh, right. That's the other one. So, okay. So that again, I haven't measured in a while. I really want to, but I was able to hit my head on 10. Okay. So a long time ago, this is where it gets like disheartening for me because it was years ago already, but I did a vert measuring test where they have like the things that you smack, the Vertec type thing. And they measured my reach. I think it was like 91, 92 inches, which is just straight up reaching. I say 92 just because I go with the higher one, just so like my vert's like the lowest. I mean, the whatever it could be, like the most accurate. And we did the Vertec. I forget where my standing one was, but I hit 41 inches on a running vert.
Crazy.
And then I hit 41 and a half. And then the 42 thing was like just out of my reach. I missed it twice. And then on like the next attempt, I like skimmed it with my finger. It's like the very tip of my middle finger, like one finger hit it. It spun around. They didn't let me film it back then because it was in the gym. I really wish I did. But so it hit 42. So technically I had a 42-inch running vertical, but that was like barely touching the tips of my fingertips, reaching as hard as I possibly could. But, I mean, that's how they measure vertical. So that was 42 inches. And that was back then. That was literally like, I would want to say like 3 years ago already. But now I definitely think I'm higher than that. So I would say my max vert right now is about 44 inches.
And what about standing?
Standing is terrible, man. It's like, I think it's about 34, 35 inches.
Right, that's I go still better than most NFL players.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. So, like, let's see. Let me see the math. So, I've gotten at my best, like right now I can't even do it, but I've gotten at my best where I've hung on a 10-foot hoop with two hands, I believe. I might have been one, but if it was one, it was like under my fingers, which is about 3 to 4 inches under on my hand, be able to grab the rim. So that's how I do the math, 92 inches. 30, let me do it again, 120 inches. Again, this is not the right conversion, but so 92 inches. Just to touch a 10-foot rim would be 28 inches, I think. So I got about 4 inches, maybe 32. I might be way off with the math. So I would say to be safe, 32, 33 was my highest standing vertical.
Nice, mate. Nice. Oh, mate, I feel like we've covered a good amount of stuff today. We're going to have to get you on again for sure down the track.
Anytime, man.
I develop my own journey, so I have more questions to ask, but that gives people a really good idea of, I think we've covered beginner side of it, how you spoke about getting in, practicing what style of dunk to go to first in terms of ball placement. Now we're going to get into more of our questions that we ask all of our guests. So I sent out the bat signal to all our fans earlier. So this segment's called Shit People Want to Know. And we got a few questions for you. So
I like that.
First is from a guy called Nesta Gayton. And he says, unrelated to dunking, how do you find your YouTube channel goes in terms of monetizing? Is that something you've wanted to do? Obviously, this guy follows you on YouTube.
I love YouTube. Right now, I monetize it. I make about $50 to $70 a month. It's not bad. It's great. And I would love it to be my full-time job only because I love sharing the videos and it's just like a bonus. But what was the question again? What he wants how to monetize it, or?
I think he said that, and also, do you make money? So
so I make money, but I make a lot of videos. So right now I feel like it's more just the quantity of my videos than really making that much money. I post like almost every day right now. So about $75 average a month. But the way I see the best videos that get the best feedback are the ones that are just the most valuable to people, that like give the most value. Just like kind of like this podcast, like I've talked about this type of stuff where I make little tutorials. I'm actually posting a new one. If you're trying to windmill dunk, that one should be up later today. So that one should be great. And if you're trying to get a channel that's monetizable and you want to make money off YouTube, I just think find something that you're passionate about so that we could talk honestly about it and share your experiences and just document, share, and just try to be creative. Try to show things in different ways and things that you really like. Because when people see things that you like and they can tell that you enjoy talking about it, they definitely like watching it a lot more.
Nice, mate. Good answer. Okay, so the next one is Lockie Minnow, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Lucky Minnow.
What's the big difference for you regarding 1 foot versus 2 foot dunking?
So for me, 1 foot is very heavy on the leg. Like it was like the cause of my knee pain. And jumping off 2 feet, I have never had really problems with my knee. The only time I've had knee problems is when I try to do too much 1 foot jumping. 1 foot jumping seems to be a little bit easier off the dribble. I think it's because you don't really have too much of an arm swing. It's not as powerful. It's more of like an athletic, just kind of running. It's more like natural with the running. In terms of dunking, it may be, I don't know. I actually got my first dunk off 1 foot. I don't know if it was like a legit 10-foot hoop. It was like 9-9-ish, but it was my first dunk. I count it just because it was like a rim I never thought was even possible to dunk on. But now I think off 2 is a little easier for me just because it's a little easier on my legs. But 1 foot might be easier in games just because it's kind of natural and you're already doing layups that way. And at like 2 foot, you need to gather up. It takes a little bit more time. But I think I got away from the question. But
no,
that's kind of how
stuff.
I see it.
All good points. And the last one is from my coach. How fast can you run 100 meters?
Oh my God. I don't know. I would love to know though. Okay, so we do a 40-yard dash. I don't know how far that is.
36.4 meters, I think.
Okay, so I did this when I was a lot younger. I was like in middle school. I think I ran like around a 5.5. But that was when I was like that was like when I was at my fastest times. I would love to try it now because I haven't done sprints in a while, but when I start doing sprints and that's part of my training, I feel really fast. That's a great question though, because I would love to see who's the fastest out of these dunkers, because I'm sure the 1 foot guys have some advantage with that. But
dude,
that's a great
that would be a good race and a good video.
Yeah, for sure.
Get everyone outside.
I'm gonna do that
in basketball shoes. That'd be a good.
That'd be great, dude. That's actually a great exercise for 1 foot. So if you're trying to do 1 foot stuff, sprinting, and barefoot stuff is great. So if you have grass, barefoot activities, also it's good for Mother Earth. You feel like connected with the earth. That's just my own personal thing. But I love barefoot 1 foot plyometrics outside. That's a great exercise for jumping.
Nice. That's funny you say that because obviously I run track and we do a lot of single leg plyos. I do a lot of single leg work.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm the same with the 1 foot jumping. I just feel it just feels heaps weaker. I'm not too sure why that is. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but it's interesting that you say the same.
My form's terrible off 1 foot. I just started trying to train it back up again, and I realized I've never really trained my technique like I do with my 2 foot. My 2 foot, I was very methodical, make sure my plan was on point. I'm taking off, like you said, with the right timing, the right load up. I've never done that off 1, so I'm trying to do that now, so I'm excited for that.
Nice, mate. Okay, so next question, something I sent through to you earlier to think about is who are your 5 favorite athletes of all time?
Yes. So I'm not sure if I can get to a whole 5. I'm terrible with sports. I've gotten away from sports only because my time is so limited now. I don't even watch that many sports right now, but I do have some athletic freaks that I would love to talk about. And the first one I have to go with is my man T-Dub. He's an insane dunker. I don't know if have you ever heard of
No, what's his Instagram handle?
Okay,
That's how I go by.
So I don't even think he has Instagram. He's like from one of the original dunkers. He's 5'10". You have to look him up. Everybody who's listening, TDUB. That's his whole name. It's a nickname. YouTube it, and it'll come up with like a video that has like over 10 million views, I think. He's 5'10". He dunks like an animal, and that's what I strive to do, and he's dunking in games, dunking on people, and he looks short. He's one of those like 5'10", but looks like 5'8". He's maybe 5'9" too, but he's really short. He wears these big baggy shirts too, but I don't know if he's still dunking now. There was a sighting recently of him dunking, but he was from like one of the, like a few years ago, like 10 years ago when dunking used to be more like underground type ways. But if you watch his videos, he's doing some of the most insane dunks at such a short height and getting his head at the rim, over the rim, dunking super easy in a game. Like you give him a pass, he's like on the baseline, takes like one dribble, basically a drop step, and dunking 2 hands like super easy, just wild. So he's probably the craziest athlete I've seen just because same sport, about the same height, and doing some crazy things I dream of doing. And now some more, the other examples I have are people you've definitely heard of. Other one I have to bring up is LeBron James. I don't see him as crazy athletic. When I think of athletic, I think of like crazy fluid, kind of more like Michael Jordan, where they're like be able to contort their body and they look like they're floating and they're just like super agile. And I see LeBron as that, but I kind of pushing his way through people. But the reason I bring him up is because he's just so big. And to be able to have he's got an over 40-inch vert, gets his head at the rim, and just be able to have that power off one leg like we were talking about at that size and weight, that like it's just incredible athleticism that I don't think we're going to see that often at a player that's, I mean, maybe going forward the generations will get taller and stuff, but like for now, LeBron's athleticism is just freaky to me.
It's interesting you say that because even a guy like I was listening to Joe Rogan has a new MMA show and he was saying,
oh yeah,
a guy who's as athletic as LeBron, you can't say that if he didn't decide he was going to do mixed martial arts, he wouldn't knock out everyone in the heavyweight division.
Right, exactly.
The pure genetics he has, if he got brought up fighting his whole life, like those long arms, he'd wrap everyone up. It'd be crazy.
I know. He's insane, man. So I had to bring him up just because he still jumps high, and to jump off 1 foot that effortlessly at such a big height, like you don't see other people that height even nearly that athletic, and he's built, he's strong, he's muscular. It's insane.
Yeah, good athlete.
And then another one, this is kind of like a wacky third option, which a lot of people do, but I actually, from Joe Rogan, I learned about these ultra marathon runners.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a different type of athleticism, but they're able to push their bodies and run these like 250-mile marathons. And I know it's a different type of athletic, but that stuff just comes to my mind when I think of athletes because it's just such a extreme. Like we're trying to jump like these new heights that no one's really jumped before. A lot of kids are getting shorter, dunking at shorter heights, but there's other type of athletes that are just running these insane miles and just it might just be all mental strength, but still you still have to physically push your body to go those long distances. And when you ask me what my top 5 athletes, I have to bring up those people that do those crazy marathons. It just was something that blew my mind when I learned about it.
Definitely. Mate, those are, I like a good bit of diversity in there.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have other two. If I have to go with other two, I have to say Westbrook. I love his dunking ability. Go back to dunking. What I love about him is he's extremely versatile. Being a dunker and trying to practice, like you're saying, 1 foot, 2 foot, maybe right, left, and left, right, different plants, whichever angle you have, to see him jump off all those plants at any time without having to think about it, being as explosive from any angle, and just the aggression, that's just like a huge part. It's not really athleticism, but the way he's able to get off the ground so quick and explode with the ball and all these different things from any angle, that's just the explosiveness I haven't seen in anybody else. I mean, Derrick Rose was super close, but we didn't get to see him as much because he got so many injuries. But besides him, it's like his athleticism. What excites me too is that you see all these younger guys in high school and college that are becoming more athletic. I think it's actually because dunking's becoming a little bigger. It's becoming more of a fun thing to do. People are just like seeing the possibilities and they're just trying it at a younger age. So by the time they get to high school, they already have some dunking capabilities and they've just been practicing from a longer time. Because I think that's part of it too, is that a lot of these people who are good at whatever they do, they just kind of started young, develop these motions naturally. But anyway, the point is, I'm looking forward to more athletic guys coming into the NBA. And I guess since I'm in Orlando, the last top 5 I'll go with is Aaron Gordon, another dunker.
Yeah. Base.
I love that he's bringing the culture too. Like he's all about dunking. He mentioned in one of his Instagram posts a while back, I think it was close to the dunk contest, that he says dunking's the culture. And it was just so cool to see somebody in the NBA that's kind of embracing dunking as kind of its own little style and its own, culture, I guess is the word. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future and just seeing other people that are into it, into the creativity side, into the pushing the limit side of dunking and just kind of growing it as possibly its own sport.
Nice, mate. Very good top 5, actually. Very specific. You chuck some curveballs in there, which I like. The guy I want to shout out, sorry, who I think I found out through
I was just going to...
Oh, yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say I had to default back to some dunkers at the end there.
Yeah, no, good.
But that's about it.
Circle. Another guy I want to shout out quickly, and I found him through your YouTube channel, because for me, I'm like, I just turned 27. I'm like, maybe I'm too old and I'm never going to dunk.
No.
And then I came across over the hill dunker. I'm not sure what his real name is, but he's
that's my man Andy.
Old. Dude,
that's my guy Andy who got me pretty much into it. That's the guy who I was talking about, who I saw his YouTube videos early on in this podcast. I was talking about how I saw YouTube videos of a 5'10" guy, went from touching it and now dunking. He was the guy who inspired me to start my journey, because I'm like, look at this guy. He's 40 years old. He went from touching the rim to dunking. If he can do it, I can definitely do it. He's my height, so he was a huge inspiration to me. I still talk to him to this day. He's actually super awesome, and he's actually holding a dunk camp this summer, his first one. So it's going to be like a dunk training camp to jump higher, all things jumping and dunking. So it's going to be super awesome. But yeah, he's awesome. He's still going. He just turned 46, I believe, and he's still dunking. It's great.
Nice, mate. We'll definitely give him a shout out from Hyperformance Podcast down here in Australia.
Definitely.
Okay, mate. Next question is, who is a rapper that would rap about, that you would have rap about you, and what would they say in the verse?
Oh my God, I might have to pick myself. I'm just kidding. I rap a little bit on the side sometimes.
Do you really?
A rapper that, yeah, sometimes I do. That's actually why I got this. I'll have to show. Might have to go with myself on that one. But let's see. I would just say that I might actually have some in the. Let me see if I can remember something I actually was thinking about writing. I was saying like. Oh, here's a great one. I got a great answer to this question. So I'll pick myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this song by Kanye where he goes, wait till I get my money right. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying, I said, wait till I get my bunnies right. Meaning like wait till I jump high. So it was like a little remix on that. It was wait till I get my bunnies right. And then he also says, I had a dream I would find my way to something. I forget what he said, but I said, I had a dream. I forget how it goes now, dang. But a dream I would be dunking, and then I woke up and I went to the court. Something like that, something ridiculous like that. But I was thinking about making a dunk remix. One day I got to make a dunk rap. I've been saying it for a while now, but I just never get around to it.
Dude,
but,
you could call out and sledge other people. It'd be gold.
Yeah. There was another one I said, it was like, don't jump, you're like something about a whole song. Damn, I don't remember the song I would put it to, so I can't even bring it up. It was like, don't jump. That was like the whole gist of the song is like, don't jump because you'll get dunked on, something like that. So I've actually thought of making a dunk rap.
Dude, I don't think we've only just brought that question in, and I don't think we're going to have a dead
so
answer
funny.
to that.
But I don't know who I would have. I probably would want to get someone who's super hype, like Waka Flocka. I have some of his mixes, and he gets really hype on his songs. They're just like, I love rap music, so I'd have to go with probably him. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but or actually Lil Dicky would be awesome because I love him too. But dude, I just love the up-tempo hype stuff.
I love Dame Dollar. That's who I'd have rap.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, dude. Yeah, he's all in basketball too, but yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, man.
That's a great option
really
too.
Really good answer. Okay, so last question before we get you out of here. So if you were on death row, what would be your last meal?
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess it's funny you say that because I've been super healthy lately. I watched this crazy documentary about wheat, like the wheats in foods, and now I'm trying to stay away from that, trying to make sure like it keep my body right. I'm barely eating sugar, so I don't even know if I'd have a specific meal, but it would probably be like a ton of terrible food for me. So like a ton of pasta and pastries and cookies. I don't know if I have a specific meal, but I think I would just go all out with the most terrible food that I've been avoiding for so long, just because I've been on a strict diet trying to stay healthy on this dunk journey. But so I'd have to say probably some cheesecake, some frickin' red velvet cake mixed with some Alfredo pasta. So get my pastas in there, get my pastries, get everything terrible all at once, which is a terrible combination, but I'm whatever, man. I'm going to go out with a bang.
Nice, mate. Dude, I love the end of that interview. You wrapped it up nicely with that rap comment. That is fucking hilarious.
That's so good.
Now, Steve, can you just tell everyone where they can follow you on social media? Obviously, your YouTube channel. If you have Facebook,
sure.
What you've got upcoming, sponsors, anything like that, go for it.
Sure. I have my Instagram is Steven_Dunks. I got my YouTube channel, easy to find. It's just youtube.com/StevenDunks. I'm easy to find on there. If you just type in Steven Dunks, I have a million videos, so super easy to find. Facebook page also have Steven Dunks, super easy. And then my own podcast as well, actually. I have Steven Selly Podcast. If you type in Steven Dunks, it might come up as well, but my name is just my name, Steven Selly Podcast. I talk about all random stuff as I go off on rapping and food and things like that, just like we did at the end here. It's kind of how mine goes too.
Nice, mate. Yeah, mate, appreciate having you on. Definitely learned a lot. I've learned myself. I've enjoyed the interview myself, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So we'll wrap this up now. Thanks again for coming on, and make sure you check out all Steve's channels.
Thanks for having me, man.